All right, so now I'm going to stop my share and turn it over to Lenny.
Hey everybody, anyone give me a thumbs up, make sure you can hear me. Excellent. So first of all, thank you so much for having us here with this evening. I'm happy to be with an amazing panel tonight and appreciate all of you coming down and listening to us virtually. I'm going to talk a little bit about, who we become, and, in 2020, I think what we've all learned is that resilience is important, that, reinventing yourself is important, that remaining challenged and being, fluid and liquid is really critical as healthcare, especially leaders, and, especially here in the Northeast in New York, but for the world for that matter. So a lot of this, sorry, let me just see. A lot of this is just, as I like to say, for those of you who've ever heard me talk, like just, one boy's story of, the voyage, and talking a little bit about branding and some lessons learned. So, the first thing is that we really need to pay attention to our surroundings, and there's a lot going on, needless to say, but we are disrupting ourselves as healthcare, as a healthcare industry. We're abandoning our services to private companies more and more and more over the years, not just in 2020, but we've seen a lot of that as well. But whether that's moving emergency room service or urgent care into the city MDs, or lab or radiology, when you look historically, at the past, and moving, out of the hospital provider world into the private world, you see a lot of, companies who've picked up our slack, who've seen opportunities where we may have failed or not have stepped up for our community and patients, and privatized that into, startups, early stage companies that have turned into, monstrous companies. We've got some inside out disruption, right? And whether that's merger and acquisition, a consolidation, or closings, we see, large brands coming together, moving into various communities and networks to bring services to patients in different areas. Nothing there is new. The point is, all this is kind of happening at the same time, right? We've got outside in disruption through, a host of reasons. Big brands coming into the healthcare space for obvious reasons, the wellness space, mergers and acquisitions, consolidation happening there, whether it's CVS, Aetna, or Whole Foods with Amazon. There's a healthcare vein, a DNA, an opportunity to step into our world, which presents, all of this presents opportunities for us as well, as leaders, as practitioners, as, healthcare executives. On the staffing and policy side, we see shortages. We see a natural disruption, whether those are clinicians, doctors, nurses in our field. A lot of data, no matter what you're looking at, shows and supports, the decrease of clinicians and, especially nurses and doctors in years to come. So all of this is very real. And then we've got the, unknown disruption, as if we've ever learned more than ever before in 2020, whether it's the pandemic, economy, protests, civil unrest, a lot of the things Fabian opened with, right? The political nature of what's going on, here we are living it. And all of these things are happening at the same time. And we're standing in the middle of it, right? So awareness is key. Awareness is key when you're thinking of, where you are today, where you want to go, where you've come from. But awareness is key when you also think about reinventing yourself and looking at opportunities for the future, or if you're mentoring those around you, advising those around you in the same, right? So, all of this is impacting everything that we're doing. And we just have to accept that it's not business as usual. I know that by now we have, hopefully, but we've got to remind ourselves that that's true. We've got to ask ourselves in that process, right? So, who's now engaging with our consumer? Who's engaging with our patient, right? There used to be a handful of fields that were engaging at the provider level, at the healthcare level. Today, it's everybody. Everyone's got their hand in the healthcare, cookie jar. Everybody wants a piece of it, no matter what it is. It's, entrepreneurs, retailers, investors, manufacturers, politicians. It's not just the clinical person, the administrator, the researcher, the educator anymore. Again, this isn't a threat. This isn't a risk. This is acknowledging and seeing that, we could cross that dividing line. We could go into any of these fields. We could do many of them at the same time. And you've got to ask yourself, in that world that's here, that's come, that's gone, and that's continuing, how would you do it differently? These are all, again, opportunities that were once in a very slim vertical that are now, pretty broad and far. You got to understand your consumer as you're thinking about, again, right, reinventing or branding who you are today. Consumer top of mind, trust, safety, cleanliness, in the combination of digitization and technology and just consumerism outside of healthcare, right? Speed, technology, broad consumerism, value, right? Access to care, immediate results, digitization around technology and innovation, retail service expectations for healthcare, getting value, for what they pay. And this is a presentation I've given, for years, and especially on this slide in particular. And it's just become so more acutely true today in a post-COVID world, that these expectations are now, accelerated, as we all know. So just recapping on that section, right? Foundation blocks as you build your brand, know your surroundings, appreciate the market conditions, to try to buy your future, right? To think ahead, what's 10 years ahead? What's 20 years ahead? How can I buy my future? How can I, continue to create value to help patients in my community? What could I do differently? And again, this is broad spectrum. This isn't just for what you're going to work to do, or career or profession. This is in your not-for-profit work. This is in your community work. This is, across the board. Be self-aware of the impact. The landscape's changing, right? And how's that impacting you? Except if you haven't already, that this is just not business as usual. Ask who's engaging with your customers, your consumers, and, should you be one of them? Should you fit into one of those categories? Do you have aspirations to step into something entirely new? Do you understand your consumer? And then constantly cycling through these steps to establish a foundation, constantly looking to reinvent yourself, and keep the patient, the customer, the community, keep the patient, especially, right, the healthcare consumer at the center of what you do. Don't lose that true north as you go through this process. And second part of this I just want to talk about is creative leadership. I've allegedly been called a creative leader, or, at least 2 or 3 days a week, maybe at times, but, this is one of my favorite quotes from, Elon Musk, right? I want to die on Mars, just not an impact, right? And again, a visionary, a thinker, understanding risk, understanding failure. If you've ever looked at, his life and, how he started and what he did, I think it's a nice capture of kind of how we need to prepare ourselves. Again, not in a post-COVID world, not in 2020, even before it, but especially now, proving a lot of that out. So creative leadership, just to recap, and, this is talked about and, taught about in many different ways, but it's really, the ability to create, realize innovative solutions, especially in the face, of structurally complex or changing situations. Again, right, should sound familiar, something we can all relate to. And it refers to, real change agents, right? Those people who, when everything's shifting and new approaches aren't known yet, they still have a clarity of purpose for their teams, for themselves, for those around them. They're leaders who seek to navigate, even benefit from unpredictability around them, not just for the organization, not just for themselves, but for society at large, and the ecology of the planet in a whole. And I talk about this a lot because, first half of my career, it's really great when you can look back in retrospect and sound like you know what you're talking about, and you can look back and make everything fit in a box. The reality is, I had to figure a lot of this out on my own. There wasn't anybody being real about it, being straight about it, calling people out on being real leaders or wannabe leaders or fake leaders just based on their titles or roles. And it is important to be able to identify this in yourself, or those around you, or those who you want to follow, right? And reactive versus creative leaders, right? Reactive leaders, where they see risk, a creative leader sees value, sees benefit, as opposed to caution themselves, right? Where a reactive leader sees failure, requires approval, a creative leader sees that as education. to improve themselves and develop themselves. Where a reactive leader sees difficulty and sees barriers, creative leader sees challenges and sees the game theory behind navigating those obstacles to get something done. My personal voyage, my personal brand voyage, I've gone through so many verticals. Again, I could pretend like this slide was some great architecture back when I was a nursing student, when I started my career. It looks really good and it sounds really good. Halfway through the slide, I realized kind of what was going on in my personal voyage where, as a staff nurse, I had 12 patients, right? That was the most I could have. But as I stepped up to an administrator, stepped in between, maybe 100 patients as a manager, 200, stepped into as a director and a dean. I had impact to touch 500, right, within a service line, within a vertical, within that hospital. Going into VP of digital and social media, was able to impact, thousands, right? So you get the trend here, like with each role, it wasn't about title, it wasn't about the trajectory, that was a more formal or structured or traditional trajectory. What was happening was I needed to figure out how to impact more lives. I needed to figure out how to, influence more, even if it wasn't by direct patient care. As I've been able to look at opportunities ahead of me, I look at the ability to have an impact, to create value, to learn from others who want to create value and share that impact. So going into innovation kind of became timeless, right? Stepping out of that realm of social media, communications, innovation, now being able and, blessed to have the opportunity, to think of technologies, devices, solutions that one day when I'm in a bed, somebody may walk in and say, hey, we'd like to put this screw in the side of your knee, and it's going to give you painkillers for the next 365 days of your life. That's a true story. That's something that was, invented and conceptualized and researched at HSS. So being able to do that is, when you start to look back at value creation and partnership and your personal brand, it's multidimensional. It's so much more than title, and so much more than role. But we could talk about that. The other thing I learned in that voyage is, look, you're going to get attacked when you're a change agent, when you're trying to build a brand or reputation, when you're trying to step up, regardless of the reason. Perception's reality if you allow it, and you've got to, guard your brand with your life. You've got to protect your reputation. And I love this slide because, it's just true of who I am and how people talk about that, right? So somebody could say, positively, oh, he's a maverick. Same conversation could take place where I'm rebellious, right? He's convicted. Same conversation could take place where it's he's stubborn. Fast, but don't ruffle feathers, right? You've got to pay attention to the snipers. You've got to listen to those around. You've got to see, who's taking your brand, who's potentially hurting it or elevating it. Again, there's big differences between mentors, between sponsors, between coaches, right? And identifying sponsors in an organization who could identify these things and advocate for you is very critical to success. This was not a no textbook. This is just life. This is, something that I see as a reality. When you're a change agent, when you try to change your brand, when you try to step up, 4 groupings for me. There's advocates, there's partners, there's fakers, and there's haters, right? You've got that advocate who's right, that friend, right, advocate. They've got no idea, what you're doing, but they try to help make it happen because they trust that you're going to do the right thing, right? You got fakers. They pretend to support and believe in the individual. They're just waiting you out, trying, not to help you or hurt you. They're not trying to do anything. You've got that partner, right, who, they might be a creative themselves or transitioning from a reactive to creative leadership style. They want to be supportive, motivate, learn, and complement one another. And then you just got the haters out there, right? Which it's a great compliment to have them. So don't fear them. But, the haters are just purposely putting up barriers. And they'll use, real creative ways to do it, right? Just in fear of change, ignorance, or self-preservation. And there's a lot of ammo in healthcare to do that. It could be budgets, it could be data, it could be finance, it could be approval of positions. There's a lot of ways to wield a sword, for people to get in the way, for you to enact change, for your personal self, your department, your division, or your community. always keep that in mind. And the summary of that is just something that I've recognized as organizational autoimmune disease, right? So we should, all know what a autoimmune disease is, but the reality is you're that target. You're a target where members of an organization could perceive change as a threat, and they'll attack you. They don't realize you're beneficial to the organism. They see you as an outside organism, and they come for you, right? Creative leaders and change agents, they're usually the victims of that. Forgive me, anyone from nursing, legal, finance, all those arrows are, equally weighed here, and I've been guilty of this myself. But there is a cure for it, right? And the medicine around this, and again, in my voyage, the medicine for this is being able to be an ethnographer, an anthropologist, a translator, a diplomat, right? Identify, study, and gain the expertise of the cultures and the differences in your organization around you. Become a student of that and understand people, not just within the organization, but outside the organization, community, politicians, investors, board members, right? There's so many different groups. Anthropologists understand human behavior in relation to the cultural environments, right? Take note to that and figure out how to address it. Translator, standing in the middle of all this and saying, hey, that's not what legal meant. They meant this. Hey, that's not what nursing meant. They meant this. Standing there and helping people to understand. And with that comes diplomacy, right? To find ways to bring people together. Recap, take care of yourselves, become more resilient, understand these creative leadership styles, map your voyage out, pre-write the resume. Even if the course changes, just get a focal point there. Protect your personal brand with everything you've got. Surround yourself with partners and advocates, and avoid organizational autoimmune disease, and keep the customer, again, at the center of what you do. Just a quick recap on another favorite, world of mine, right? Do one thing every day that scares you. This is about failure. This is about accepting failure, right? For those of you who've ever used a Dyson vacuum, 5,126 versions of that Dyson vacuum before he got it right. And what I do with these is I say, what's your number, right? What is your number? When would you have given up? 3, 2, 30 times? I don't know. You got to ask yourself, how many times would you have been willing to try, right? Who doesn't want to be the Angry Birds brothers, right? That founded Angry Birds. Like, everybody wants to be them, right? Oh, like, wow, how'd they do that? What was their 51st app, right? They made 51 unsuccessful games that busted before they hit that one, right? Again, what's your number? When would you have stopped trying, right? Facebook, hopefully nobody's on it right now instead of listening to us, but there's at any given time 10,000 different versions of Facebook going on. You don't even realize it. Different button here, different color there, different, and it's just iterative learning, forcing failure, forcing it to break to see what people like, so that you could have an unbelievable experience. Just closing up here, starting to move into that direction. Everybody's got 2 resumes. Thank you for the great intro before, but people could say, yeah, he's got a BS in nursing. He was a director of ops. He founded a company. He's a gallery selling artist. Well, we've all got that LinkedIn unwritten profile that nobody gets to see, right? I failed my first nursing class with 0.6 of a point and had to repeat it. I'm a board member of that university today. I was turned down, right, for clinical directorship, which actually moved me into operations and administrative on an executive side. Founded a company, great, it's doing great. I closed 3 or 4 technology companies outside, busted on all of them. And I've ruined more canvases than I've ever sold, right? So, sharing failure with people and helping them understand that that's what it takes is critical to success. Again, everybody sees that Instagram post, that single snapshot photo. They don't want to watch the movie. They want to be that guy, that gal. They want to be that person. They don't want to understand what it took to get there and watch the whole movie. They just want to see the picture. So don't do that. Reinventing yourself. Some takeaways. Do you know your surrounding? Do you know what your consumer? Do you know your consumers and yourself? How you viewed by others? What personal brand do you want to have? Identify it. And then how do you make that happen? Right? You do it with deep self-reflection, due diligence with others, ask people, listen to them, even if you gotta, bite your lip for a minute, just listen and take that criticism. Failures and learning, find your passion, and then you create your narrative and you move that ahead, and you stick with it and you protect it and you guard it. Don't be scared of about what makes you different. I could tell you a ton of stories, but let's just say I'm different. I stand out. I don't hide it. I grew up in New York City. I was born and raised here. I'm a graffiti artist. It's been well documented. There was a majority of my life that I hid that. And when I stopped hiding it, it opened up in a whole other world for me, within healthcare, within executive leadership, within being seen as a creative, something that maybe not, I wasn't ashamed of, but something that, turned into a 13-page expose in Newsday on my life, something I hid for the, 3/4 of my life, that I then walked into my CEO's office and he gave everyone in the leadership a copy of. Something I walked into a board meeting at a university and they had a copy for every board member. Don't be scared of it. You could have different slices, you could be different people, you can understand how to integrate those brands and bring them together. And again, one fellow's story from New York, just sharing that with you, this voyage, and happy to answer questions or anything you want. Remember that you're not going to change overnight. So everyone will tell you to read a book. Just read it. It's all good, read it, great, but don't expect to wake up tomorrow and be Steve Jobs. It's a personal pet peeve of mine when everybody's handing somebody a book because they think they're going to become that person. It's great. It's amazing. I advocate for it, but don't fool yourself because, just because you watch Bruce Lee movies doesn't mean you could do Kung Fu. You got to remember that. All right. So thank you for listening. Looking forward to questions and my colleagues presenting today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lenny. We'll cue it up for Jarvis.
Perfect. And just checking really quickly to make sure you all can still hear me.
Can I just add one comment, Carl Marie?
Yes, go ahead.
Lenny, I will always be your advocate and partner, never your hater.
Thank you, Sam.
Well, Lenny, can you hear me?
Yep, you good.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say I'm going to be your hater because when we do these, I get stuck behind you, man. You're a tough show to follow. So
thank you.
No, great job. So good evening, everybody. Hopefully, can I get a thumbs up? Am I showing my screen appropriately? All right, perfect. Thank you. So I just want to go ahead and jump right in because my goal today is really to convince everybody that when it comes to improving healthcare or finding ways to just make the industry better, to make our facilities better, no matter how hard we fight it, Lean Six Sigma will be right there at the forefront of all of this work that we're doing. With that in mind, I think there's a great opportunity to brand ourselves as results-driven healthcare leaders through learning and then most importantly, applying Lean Six Sigma appropriately. You and your teams are always just one project away. And that's whether your goals are to transform your organizations, accelerate your career paths, build a professional brand again as a results-centered healthcare leader. You're always just one project away from achieving any of these goals and more. So my focus today is to highlight what makes Lean Six Sigma valuable in the healthcare industry. I'll highlight 7 tips on how Lean Six Sigma can positively impact your career paths, and then just wrap us up with some next steps. Should you all want to consider moving forward, just things to look for in preparation for that. And so I hope that sounds like a game plan to get us started with improving healthcare from the healthcare point of view around improvement. I'm not going to really talk a lot about myself other than just to share the fact that I really enjoy what I do. I've been doing it for quite some time with a number of really fantastic organizations. About 3 years ago, I started my own business where I continue to consult around healthcare improvement as well as coaching and training healthcare professionals on Lean Six Sigma. And I'm completely biased, but I have a really awesome podcast where I interview real leaders from across the world sharing their ins and outs around healthcare leadership and improvement. And it's a great free resource that I hope everyone gets a chance to check out and just a way to keep this conversation going. So just to level set really quickly and maybe get you all to engage just a little bit, but either by show of hands or drop some feedback over in the chat, who all on the call today has heard of Lean and Six Sigma? So let me give you all a second to type and let me pull up my chat. Give me some feedback. Just let me know that you all are familiar with this. All right, and I hope it's coming through. I can't see my chat, y'all. All right, I see heads nodding nonetheless. So I hope we're getting some good responses over there.
You are.
All right, perfect. Yeah, my windows are kind of flipped around maybe. Let's keep it moving though. An additional question that I have for you all, but who all on the call is aware that Lean Six Sigma is the combination of two different improvement methods that have essentially been pulled together into one? So again, give you all a chance to provide some feedback. And I know that I'm going to be truly amazed whenever I can see the chat here. All right, so for the sake of time, really, I'm not going to cover this slide in full detail, but the big takeaway with this slide is that Lean Six Sigma has evolved from the approach of combining the best strategies for both Lean and Six Sigma, and recalling that Lean principles help us to reduce or eliminate process waste, and then Six Sigma itself helps to focus on reducing process variation. Together nowadays, the principles of Lean Six Sigma really work to help healthcare organizations improve both the efficiency and the quality of their operational and clinical care processes. So nowadays across the internet, or at least at conferences, or if we ever get back to a point of going to conferences, you can find so many great references from other healthcare groups really sharing the best practices and the benefits that they've achieved with applying Lean Six Sigma within their organizations. At a very high level, the benefits are very, very clear, where the impacts have been shown to help reduce and prevent medical errors, reduce mortality rates, decrease the time spent in the hospitals, improve patient care, and boost overall quality outcomes. For me, in working on a past project, I had a team member share that one of the best summaries of Lean Six Sigma that has truly stuck with me for many years now is that it's all about doing the right thing the first time, the right way, at the right time for every patient, every time. And whether it's a local project on a single unit, if it's work that's being led by a shared governance team, or really just a full-scale initiative across your entire enterprise, that definition covers exactly what we're called to do as healthcare professionals. So as we cover much of the rest of this presentation today, one of the first big takeaways is that when we look outside of the traditional clinical roles in healthcare, the top 3 high-growth career paths fall into the areas of quality and patient safety, healthcare administration, and healthcare consulting. The key connector within each of these paths is the focus on process improvement, leadership, and operations, which is at least, at a very high level, right? It's the core of many of the principles already found within Lean Six Sigma. And it's more than likely than not that if you're working to transition and or move your career forward through any of these career paths, then there's a pretty good chance that the position will already have words in it containing examples related to Lean Six Sigma or just process improvement in general. So tip number 1 on how Lean Six Sigma can accelerate your career path is around being in a league of your own. And earning your Lean Six Sigma credential automatically warrants respect from your colleagues and other leaders in your facility simply because of the discipline and the analytical rigor that you have to go through within the training process itself. It's very much kind of a rite of passage and professional growth, but the certification immediately stamps you as a team member that wants the best for their facility, their team, and ultimately their patients. I'd say if there was ever a downside to the process, it would simply be that overwhelmingly possibility that your newly gained skills will turn you into that go-to problem solver. Everybody's going to want you on their teams. Next tip I have for you, it wouldn't really be right to share a presentation like this without at least trying to connect some of the earning potential. And make no mistake about it, you know, when we talk about pursuing your Lean Six Sigma credentials, it can be a considerable investment, whether it's personal or through your organization. But I always like to focus on that word investment, because when done right, all professional development should come with a chance for future opportunities. Now, I did my best to research the New York market specifically and found these projected salaries at the manager and director levels for Lean Six Sigma trained healthcare professionals. Basic disclaimer, of course, but given the diversity and complexity of the healthcare market, the figures are really all over the place. But to quickly speak to my personal experience as I came up through my corporate career, I can easily say that my salary pretty much smashed each of the figures highlighted here on the screen within their respective levels. So the earning potential is definitely there if you all pursue this level of credentialing within your profiles. Let's have a real conversation for a minute, but, you know, not to call anybody out, but, you know, I'd be interested in just, again, getting some feedback, and I got my chat working over here now. Is there anyone on the line today that's interested in growth and or pursuing new opportunities? Go ahead and just drop a Y or a yes over in the chat box, but let's kind of get a feel for the growth potential of our audience today. All right, wonderful. So long story short on this slide is that a focus around quality will soon be the cornerstone for just about every single position in healthcare, whether it's patient related or not. As you see on the screen here is that a simple search using Indeed quickly found over 8,000 positions, across the state of New York that just held the keywords healthcare and quality. So that movement is definitely gearing up. Next tip that I have for you is that one of the privileges that I've had personally throughout my career path is that I'm constantly invited by other leaders to join their projects or simply to round in their areas or partner with them to go out and identify improvement opportunities and share best practices. So in this mindset, applying your new Lean Six Sigma skills is essentially a license to innovate and to help teams reach the next level. So one of my favorite baseball quotes connects directly into leadership is that every strike brings me closer to my next home run. And so for me, again, early in my career, I knew that I wanted to develop into a leader and a healthcare administrator, but I never had many opportunities to practice being a leader until I began leading Lean Six Sigma projects and process improvement projects. And again, you know, let me be upfront and say that leading teams and resources that do not directly report to you will be one of the most difficult things that you will ever have to master as a professional. But what better way to learn, right? If you just offer your skills and jump in to support and to lead projects, this will allow you the chance to take as many swings as needed. And when you're ready to officially transition to that next phase of your career, my hope is really that you all will be hitting home runs every single time. So the next tip here centers around what I'll call the universal law of Lean Six Sigma. And we know that, you know, healthcare systems, no matter the size, can be very complex environments. Fortunately, the skills that you will gain through your Lean Six Sigma training will work to really help prepare you on how to identify quality or operational issues and opportunities, how to use data to assess opportunities, and how to implement sustainable solutions, no matter what level of the organization that you may be working in. And this will also apply if you find yourself moving around through various departments within your organization or other healthcare organizations, but it also applies should you find yourself leaving healthcare for another industry. Not that we want you to, but the same skills, the same mindset can apply, help carry over for different types of transitions that you have as a problem solver. And so that same brand that you build doing this in healthcare can roll over effectively and be applied outside of healthcare as well. And as we near the end of this presentation, it's so important really to share that now more than ever, healthcare has an incredible focus for quality, safety, ultimately operational improvements that eliminate wasteful spending. The long-term success for all of our organizations will depend on current and future leaders being able to address these challenges head on and to simplify all of the work, efforts, and at the end of the day, just help the organization to get better at getting better. So my last slide here just walks you through the process for taking next steps and pursuing any Lean Six Sigma training, should you want to go through that. First is simply determining what level of training you want to get started with. And I'll give it to you straight from my point of view. If your career ambitions include moving into leadership positions, manager, director, future executives, then I would just recommend a Greenbelt training level right out the gate. With that, I would propose targeting programs that have live instructors, whether it's in person or online nowadays, of course. University programs can be very good choices, but they can also be very expensive and out of most normal folks' budgets. So pay attention to the types of organizations you invest in. Whatever program you target should absolutely require a written test to check the comprehension of the topics you cover. But if you're also doing a green belt or a black belt specifically, it should offer a chance to actually do a project, get that project under your belt at a minimum, because projects are obviously pretty difficult in a COVID environment. It should offer some forms of simulated project assignments. Lastly, the training program should offer access to a community of other professionals, both during the training process and after the training process, that allows you to stay connected. This community should exist to provide just support on the projects, on your day-to-day work even, networking opportunities, and even career development support. So the big takeaway again, as you all continue to maybe consider some of the points of this presentation, is that you all are one project away from transforming both your healthcare organization and your careers. And through learning and then applying Lean Six Sigma methods, you're all but guaranteed really to build that personal and professional brand as a results-driven leader. And so let me stop there. I'm happy to take questions when we're ready. Feel free to ask me anything. Please feel free to connect with me via LinkedIn as well. And I am officially passing the mic to my friend Joanne.
Very cool.
Unmute, Joanne.
Can you hear me okay now? Thank you. Carl, you're going to push them through for me. So thanks, everyone, and good evening. Thanks for staying with me. So this part of the presentation is really about you and your approach to your job search. Maybe this is your first job, maybe it's your 10th job, but job hunting has changed and being a candidate has changed a lot. And in the face of what everyone else has said here today, a lot of it is about what initially I think it was Fabian who said, take care of yourself, empower yourself. And so back in the day, I think when people went for a job, you sort of victimized by the interview, it was this interrogation and, you were asked a million questions. And today I think that's changed, although maybe some industries haven't, but it's changed. We're having more and more conversations with people. We want to find out who they are, how they think, what makes them tick, what do they love, what don't they love and why? And so I think the self-reflection that Lenny was talking about earlier is very, very important, because it's not so much memorizing somebody's mission. That's great. You can read the website the night before, and I applaud you, but that's not what's going to get you the job when you come to my office. I'm looking for people who are authentic and they're committed and they're real, and nobody comes in perfect. We're all going to learn. And that's why you need the tools like the Six Sigma certifications and things of that nature, because that's the tool in your toolkit that's going to help you along the way. I can tell you that we're doing a couple of searches, and one right now in particular is in telehealth space. And it's not just being a telehealth expert. It's not just knowing digital platforms. It's understanding quality metrics. It's understanding how to navigate an organization, how to manage projects, how to manage people, and how to manage data. So you have to know a little bit of everything to get to that level. And when you want to talk about leadership, I think that many of us are sort of, born into it in some ways, and then you develop thereafter. I mean, sometimes it's that kid who's the captain of the soccer team, and there's natural leadership tendencies. I have no doubt that Jarvis and Lenny were natural leaders even as kids, whether they were the cousin that made the decision of what they were going to do, or they were the kid in the neighborhood or someone in their class. They didn't just sit back. This is something in a person's DNA, I think, to some degree, and then what they're exposed to. And sometimes it's getting rid of the fear. Okay. And so it's what also Fabian talked about what scares you. Lenny talked about what scares you. And so on my next slide, Carl, it says, think, okay, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And fear is probably the biggest thing that paralyzes any of us. Fear of making a mistake, fear of being embarrassed, fear of being called out, fear of raising your hand and asking a foolish question, fear of applying for a job that maybe you've been told is outside your reach. Okay. Now we all have good advisors in our lives, family, friends, well-meaning folks, and say, no, that's not for you. Or yeah, well, you have to understand the difference between somebody advising you and helping you get into your lane properly, or someone derailing you. Okay. And Lenny made a mention of those people. There's those advocates and supporters, and then the ones that smile and maybe don't help you too much. So you have to kind of know the difference and distinction in between. Okay. So what would you do if you weren't afraid? Okay, so maybe you're between jobs. We're going to go to the next slide. And now is the time to start thinking about the self-reflection that Lenny referred to, taking stock of your life. What do you have to learn to be marketable? What's changed since you looked for your last job? Okay. What is new in technology? What, since COVID happened, is out there now that people are starting to apply to? So it's not the same old, same old. Do you need a mentor to get up to speed on something? Do you need to take a class? This Lean Six Sigma is the perfect thing. If you're between jobs or you're looking and haven't found something, what are you going to do with your downtime? This is a perfect thing. Many, many people come to me with resumes that they've started this Lean Six Sigma certification. And if they've not really applied it yet, I understand it, but it certainly helps to separate a little bit. And I say, well, that person had, quite a bit of, what would you say, moxie, they thought about it, they were natural leadership. Don't wait to be told, let me look and see what I could do to strengthen my case, to strengthen me as a candidate, because maybe we're all new graduates, but I'm the one that's going to have this. And on the other side, remember that the manager, and these folks here do hiring all the time, Carl, Marie, Jarvis, Lenny, they're looking to strengthen their bench. Okay, whether it's to replace somebody that they lost or to add something new, because they have lots and lots of new things that they're challenged to be doing. So be ready. And then the other thing I say is practice hopefulness. Don't feel the world is against you. Don't feel there's no shot. Don't feel, oh, I didn't go to the better school. There are tons of great people out there from all kinds of schools. There are tons of great managers who really look for the authentic candidate. They want to help that person get a leg up. I love bringing in people that are looking to change and grow. It's sort of my legacy to the organization. And I'm sure the people on this slide right now feel the same way. I would be shocked if they didn't agree. Shocked. Okay, Carl? So sometimes when you start out on your search, you don't know what you want. you know, person say, well, you graduated, you got that, bachelor's degree, or you're starting a program, a graduate. What is it you want? I don't really know. I don't know what I want. I could do this. I could do this. I'm multi-talented. I have a hybrid. I've heard it all. Well, sometimes it might be, where do you want to end? Where would you like to end and then back into? So maybe Lenny talked about a roadmap, a journey. Think about that. If I don't know what I want and I can do something in quality or something in clinical or something in sales or something with service or hospitality, I love them all. So how do I want to end my career? Or maybe you're too young to think about that. Where do I want to be at 40? What do I see myself doing at 50? Other than sitting on a beach having a cocktail, there must be other things you want to do. Maybe you can back into the plan. You don't always have to know everything. You just have to be, a little intuitive, and you have to know what is good for you. If you cannot get up in the morning, you are not an early morning person. Don't apply to any kind of job where you got to start at 5 or 6 or 7 a.m. That's ridiculous. And then well, I want to challenge myself. Don't. That's crazy. There are plenty of things that you can do that align with your strengths and what you love to do. So keep that, okay? Next slide. So it's all about you. Okay, this is all about you. This time of job searching is about you. So Lenny talked about creating 2 resumes. Okay, get yourself a professional resume. I know there are resume templates and we're all pretty good with the technology, but you are the worst assessor of yourself. Most people do not put enough good stuff in the resume. We tend to hold back. Get somebody who does this professionally. It's worth the money. If you were getting married next week, I am sure you would go to a professional salon for your hair and a professional salon for your nails and a professional salon for your shaving and everything else and your grooming. So this isn't the time to DIY. Do it yourself. That's not the time, because this is your advertisement. Your resume is your best stuff about you. So if you see an ad for anybody, including HSS, we don't tell you if we had 5 med errors this year. Hey, come here for your surgery. We only had 5 med errors. No, we're going to tell you all the good stuff. Come here. We've helped thousands of people. Our infection rates are low. Our employee satisfaction is high. Our doctors love to come here. This is what people are saying. Well, the resume is your advertisement. So make sure you get someone who can do it professionally. Okay, just make sure that when it's over and you read the finished product, you say, yeah, this is me, because you're going to have to be able to speak to it. And when you get a guy like Lenny interviewing you on the other end and he starts questioning you on the dot points and the bullets, and you don't know who the answer is, we know that that resume isn't all it's cracked up to be. Make sure you research the industry, know what you're talking about. You know, we're all about orthopedics here, right? So if you come here asking me about obstetrics and our burn unit in our ER, I know you did not do your homework, and it's happened, okay? Same thing with vendors, that they want our business doing searches. I have a fantastic person for you for OB. I said, so sorry, but I don't think you realize we don't do that here. Probably was a little bit embarrassed. Get out of your comfort zone. They asked before, relocating, can you do something else? Relocating now, you know, maybe it's not as much a requirement as it used to be, because what are we doing? Now, we're all, like a lot of us are working from home. We're working remotely. So maybe the relocation thing isn't necessary. So maybe you find a great job and it's in another state. You certainly can ask, listen, is there a work from home option? Some people want a hybrid. They want you in at least once a month because you want to get to know the team and connect. But in some industries, that's not the case. So earlier today, I was on a call with our advertising agent that does all our employment ads, and they had their vendors on for a holiday Zoom. On this was Citi, Goldman Sachs, us, of course, NYP, and we talked about the work from home situation. And 90% of the people on that call haven't been in their offices for over a year. Now, COVID pushed that forward. Corporate has been doing remote work forever. Okay, forever, especially global. You couldn't possibly be on site unless you have all people working locally. So you know, healthcare is a little bit slow in terms of, oh, what are we going to, how do we know the person's really working? You know, stuff like that. I think every industry is different and every industry has different experiences. But if there's a job opportunity in your sweet spot, don't be intimidated by, oh gosh, that's out in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, that's not near me. Find out about it. You might be surprised. Okay, next slide. Carl? Thank you. So this is just a basic, I like this because I think sometimes a picture says 1,000 words, and it's the competency model for most jobs, especially for my team in HR. Most jobs today require some degree of technical skills, and you can see that's a very big portion. I don't know any job, even in building services, housekeeping, food service, that you're not doing some kind of technology. You're either in Epic or you're in some supply chain PAR level database, or you're on some kind of doing something electronically. Knowledge, you have to have knowledge coming in. Yeah, of course you're going to be trained, but most jobs need some kind of knowledge. So try to align with things that you're familiar with or you're good at or you've studied. You're going to learn a lot of other things. You can't know everybody's software program. That's something you'll be trained in, but you have to know how to keyboard and you have to know how to work basic technology. That they're not going to teach you. And then what are your personal success factors? And I think both gentlemen who spoke earlier and even Mr. Stone, who initially spoke, I mean, I think they're all very much tied to their core values, knowing who they are. Lenny said over and over, know your brand, protect your brand, keep your reputation going, know who you are. That is key. If you don't have that, then you're just somebody with a resume. Okay, and everybody's got a resume. Again, we're looking for authenticity. Okay, next slide. Great. Core values. So people, we use the term core values and we all think we know what it means. But core values means different things to different people, right? In this case, these are sort of some of the things I've carved out using our own HSS values, but also some of my own personal values that have guided me very well for all these many, many years that I've been working. And as you look down, and I'm not going to read them all, you can see them equally. It's interesting. The word gratitude comes up over and over and over. Since COVID, gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. It's interesting. I have a sign on my desk. I've had it for about 10 years. And it says, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And so when Dr. Stone was talking about gratitude and the two kinds of gratitude, I think that about covers it. So that's not a new invention. It's probably something your mother taught you when you were a kid, to be appreciative and to be grateful. And and to be humble. It doesn't mean to grovel. Again, see, it's understanding. It means to be grateful for an opportunity. There's nothing wrong with sending the note after the interview and saying, thank you so much. I'm really appreciative for the opportunity to have been able to meet with you and your team today. That's not, that's not groveling. That's showing, that's showing gratitude. Of course, teamwork. You can't do anything without a team. Now, I'm sure in school, you're doing lots of team building things, working as a team, doing projects as a team. That's being done to prepare you for what you're going to have to do in the workforce. Many people are great alone. I'm an individual contributor. I work isolated in a back room. I don't talk to anybody all day. That's wonderful when you want that specialist. But most people have to integrate and be inclusive to drive the information forward or to drive the project forward to achieve the goal. And one thing I do want to mention about projects, Jarvis said it, I tell my candidates this all the time, project management is one of the toughest management jobs ever because you are totally responsible for everybody around that table and none of them report to you for the most part. And so their supervisors' priorities may not be your priority. So you are trying to get them to buy in and move the needle because you have a project deadline to meet, okay, or to reschedule, but you've got to, and so all this, being creative, building relationships, getting people to buy it, that is so important. It's such an important part of leadership. So another sign that I have in my room, and I didn't make this, I took this from people, it's not that I'm so brilliant. Leadership is not a title. It's a behavior. Okay, next slide, Carmery. Personal success factors, that was that core piece of that model I showed you. Well, they may be any number of things, but I do think that people that are successful in business need these kinds of things. Yeah, you need a lot of things, but you're not going to get anywhere if you don't communicate well. I'm sorry, whether it's chit chat outside the water cooler, or it's standing up and presenting, or it's offering some suggestion at a meeting. You've got to be able to get it out succinctly, clearly, and kindly. Okay, this is not the family fight at the kitchen table where, you know, you're like, I don't believe it. You know, you can't do that. You know, it's really about what you can. And then once you build that trust with people, they'll come to you and they'll take more of the real, you know, Lenny was talking about the real deal. They'll take that from you because they've built the trust, because they know you are someone they can trust. You're authentic and you have their personal interests at heart. Okay. You need stamina. These hours are long, these days are long, these projects are endless. You think you're getting to the end and 3 more things creep up. It's just the life cycle of work in today's world. You need stamina mentally, emotionally. You know, everybody may not stroke you. It's not, the higher up you go, the less stroking you're going to get. So if you're going to talk at a senior level, people aren't going to say, oh, that was a good job, Joanne, very nice. They're not going to say that. They're going to say, okay, thank you, next up. Okay, so you have to have some self-reliance. And I see Carl-Marie laughing because she knows, right? Okay, but you have to have some self-reliance and have, you know, some internal resilience. And we used that word earlier. When we talk about thoughtfulness, I'm not talking about kindness. Kindness is great, don't get me wrong, but thinking about what you're going to say, thinking about what you're going to ask, giving something some good thought when you're getting there to the meeting or going to meet your boss. Thoughtfulness, thoughtful leaders are very, very beloved because they get the buy-in, but they also are respected for their intelligence. And then there's the EQ and the IQ. Your IQ is your intelligence, your EQ, your emotional intelligence, being able to read the room, being able to read the Zoom screens. Pay attention to your people on the Zoom call. You may be getting some nonverbal cues, okay? Carl-Marie? Great. And then the skills and knowledge. These are all the things that were in that model. So if you're not good at some of this stuff, these are the things you're going to learn. I remember some years ago when I had my first, I'm going to say, non-clinical boss. This was a real corporate guy, and he took a liking to me, and he thought he saw something that hadn't yet been developed. And so I was so much the nurse that I didn't know a lot about the business end, and he really helped me to develop, and he was a wonderful writer. And I said to him, he said, tell me 3 things that you want to learn to do better. And I said, oh, I want to learn to write. I love to read your memos, and I wish I could write like you. Like, how did you do that? And he said, nothing but rewriting. Good writing is rewriting and rewriting and reading it out loud and reading it, making your mother read it to you, and then you rewrite it. It's because it has to sound good, it has to look good, and it has to be good. And so today, one of my favorite hobbies, and I have done a lot of writing, and I credit him with that. Yeah, it's me doing it, but had he not unpeeled that onion and gave me the confidence I needed, I might not have tried that, okay? And then you see the rest of the skills here. If you can't be anywhere today without managing data, managing technology, doing some research. Nobody's going to hand you the answer. Nobody's going to hand you the answer. It's go figure it out. That's what Lenny said. Go figure it out, go find it, bring it back. You may make a mistake, but you'll fine tune it. You know, I think it was Lenny who mentioned about failing, about all those people that were very successful and all the number of times they failed. And I do want to say that, you know, failing at something, and this bears mentioning, and take this to the bank, failing at something, failing at anything, doesn't make you a failure. So sometimes I hate the word fail because we associate it so emotionally, but it is what it is, okay? Failure is not succeeding. It doesn't mean you're a failure. So try not to internalize those failures. Say, okay, that didn't go too well. let's go back to the drawing board tomorrow with fresh eyes and let's see what I could do again better. And you're going to do that over and over again. And then all of a sudden it's going to happen. Next slide. Okay. I even didn't realize this. Do or do not, there is no try. You know, my husband was trying to stop smoking. He's been bothering me for years with smoking. I go crazy about it. I tell him, you've got to stop. You've got to stop. He's got Nicorette on the counter. It's been on the counter for 3 years. He said, I'm trying. I said, no, there's no trying to quit. You either quitting or you're not quitting. Trying to quit is you're fooling yourself up there. You're either going to do it or you're not. Okay, so that's really what I tell even my kids. Next slide. Okay, so this is where you can reach me. You can talk to me anytime. I'll be happy to give you free advice. I do have a company, but my company is not something that I'm marketing actively, because right now it's really sort of been pro bono. And so I'll tell you about me at the end of this. I started during the 2009 global disaster that we had, and financially, and people lost jobs and everything. And I felt terrible. And, since that's what I do for a living, is help people get jobs, I said to somebody at church, do we have a lot of parishioners out of work? And he said, oh my goodness, so many. I said, well, why don't I run a class for them? I know how to do this. Now, I never did it. I was scared, but I did it. And the people were coming in droves. And so what I did was I patched Humpty Dumpty together again. I got them some confidence. We did some bereavement work and all, and got them the confidence to get back in the game and go. And every single person got a job. Every single person, not because of me, but maybe with a little bit of my help and urging. And so I said that when I stop working on a full-time basis, that would be what I do. And so right now, since I'm working too many hours to do anything but work at HSS, I do things pro bono for people. But that is my future. And Lenny did talk about that, inventing your future. And so it will be there, and I will tap Lenny and Jarvis to help me create all the tools I need to be very successful there. But it is a passion. And so I think that you can't get anywhere today without passion, whether it be a relationship, a job, buying a home, or anything else, a friendship, maintaining a friendship without passion for it, because otherwise it's just window dressing. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you have questions that you don't want to ask here and you want more of a one-to-one, more than happy to take a call anytime. My number's up there. Feel free. Just let me know you were someone from Hofstra on the Carl Marie's live stream. Okay. Thanks. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday, and safe and happy. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone have any questions? If so, feel free to type them in the chat. Okay. Romani, do we have any questions? I know a couple of, we had some questions. I know one in particular I can ask. I know it was mentioned in the presentation related to books that you're currently reading. Are there any executive books that you're currently reading that you recommend to, to our members?
Yeah. Let me think.
Yeah, I would say the best leadership book that I've read, I think this year, has been The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. I thought it applied very well for leadership principles, but for healthcare, the work that that we're all involved with, or the work that I do around continuous improvement, it promotes this mindset of continuous improvement through leadership. And so I thought it was just a solid read. If you all are familiar with him, Leaders Eat Last, Start With Why. I personally thought this was his best book that I've read so far.
Reminder, you have a question? I think you're on mute.
In here, I'll ask the question. It was me, Ralph.
Okay.
So I know Joanne spoke about, kind of managing up, and thank you for touching base on project management, where you're in charge of everything, but you own nothing in a way, and kind of ties into the process improvement. And being many of us are non-clinical, what are some tips for working with senior clinical leaders in our spaces? Sometimes it's a different language, there's different scorecards, and what are some tips for, especially when breaking that ceiling to the next level?
I guess, am I on? Let's see.
Yes.
Okay. For me, my pathway into working with senior leaders was from sort of the ground up. And the best information that I can share is when I came here to HSS, it was 20 years ago, I replaced somebody who'd been here for 30 years. Very beloved, very popular with the managers. And so I came in and they were very unsure of me. I was the new kid. Who is she? What's she going to do? Will our interest be her interest? And so I made a commitment that and it's not something you might be able to do today, but I think you still can, to visit personally with every single one, introduce myself, put myself on their calendar, and try to build that little rapport, but understood very well it was about them and what their needs were, and what I tried to find out what they were looking for, what were the pain points, what hadn't they gotten before. Here, I was here as a help, right? Not a replacement of. And the other thing that really facilitated my relationship with them all was the person who was leaving actually was part of my interview. And she and I just hit it off. She loved me from the minute we walked in, and we hit it off. And she is now my confidant and mentor for when I've had issues. But she, knowing that she endorsed me, sort of helped them to learn they could trust me. And then I think you're tested. And once people know that you know what you're doing, and you can ask Lenny, once people know that you know what you're doing and they can entrust you, and that response time with them is right away, not 2 days later, they start to build a rapport because their needs are about immediacy. Don't take up more time of theirs than they need to take up, right? They're on a fast track. Get to the point, get what they need, and make them feel, and then each time you do something, you gain that trust. And I think it's building trust. And you gentlemen can tell me if that's untrue, but that's what I found.
Hey, Ralph, it's a great question, Ralph. I'm conflicted, right? Because I could walk into the room as a clinical leader or an administrative leader. I could play that chameleon role because I'm a nurse practitioner. And what I'd say is that, back to that ethnographer and anthropologist, and you've got a lot of different cultures around you. So it's not binary around administrative or clinical, right? It depends on what's motivating that clinical leader, right? And understanding what motivates that individual. They could be at a different point. They could be clinical who've been administrative for 99% of their career, or vice versa, right? They could just be getting started. You've got to size them. You've got to size them up and understand what it is that they're trying to accomplish and how to meet them in the middle, because they're going to be doing the same with you as an administrative, non-clinical person. And you've got equal or more or less, maybe whatever it is, the case to offer, right? You've got to see where they are in that gauge. What I've been trying to do over the last only few years, right? I'm in the game 22 years, but what I've been trying to do only in the last decade, maybe, or even 5-6 years, is trying to separate the clinical leader and try to understand and look at who's leadership versus who's administration, who thinks they're a leader, and approach that individual that way. Again, right? Each encounter should be looked at individually. That's one thing. Another thing is, I think, engaging relationship management, helping people understand, right, we're all patient advocates and trying to get to the same goal. And if that's not the case, and you're going head to head with somebody over something different, try to find the common ground or dilute them with other individuals, some other clinical partners or not, who could come into that room with you or help, move them over the line into your position. Or you move off of your position if they convince you otherwise. So yeah, I think there's a whole spectrum, right? And for a long time, I looked at things as binary as well, and I'm trying to find gray area, as I continue my voyage.
I'll jump in with a really quick thought, but I would say figure out what their issues are, professional issues, not personal issues. But, try to walk in their shoes, go meet them in their department, in their unit, and just ask, what's going on? Teach me how this department works, what causes you headaches, and just try to see the world from their point of view. And then that'll start to open up a dialogue. It develops trust. And again, if you all can help them solve a small problem really quickly, that starts to build a bridge. So.
All right.
Thank you.
There are 2 questions in the chat so far. The first one is, what one thing do you still struggle with? What is the one mistake, habit, or pattern that you still haven't overcome after years of business? I don't know who wants to take that question.
I'll go first. It's something that I have to remind myself about weekly, or my CEO reminds me of. I don't like to always explain how I'm getting somewhere, or what the strategy is, or what the tactics are. I think I've been scarred and burned in a early upcoming through healthcare, where revealing too much sometimes gets you stopped. And I've tried really hard I'm telling you, 22 years, I've tried really hard to try to reverse that. Where that affects you negatively is when you need buy-in, when you need, if something looks like a magic trick, by the time you're done, even if it takes years to execute, it won't be fully appreciated. The value of how you got there won't be appreciated. I'm guilty of it. Guilty of it this week, guilty of it last month, guilty of it 5 years ago. Better and better. But that's something I still struggle with, because I've not yet convinced myself that the value of doing it otherwise is going to help me get to where I need to go. And the criticism there comes around execution, right? So let's say you like to execute, I still value execution over being, theoretical or academic. It could be seen as a weakness, but that's something I struggle with. And again, I think learning from it, the fact that I can communicate about it, appreciate it, means that I'm aware of it, and means that I'll think 3 times before doing it. But it can affect you negatively if you don't master it in a certain way.
Great. I guess I could jump in. I could give you a laundry list of things that I'm working on that I continue. One of the biggest flaws in my whole career strategy was not advocating for myself enough. And I try to teach my kids otherwise, and again, there's a fine line. It's a balancing act, but I was raised in a household where you kind of were taught to put yourself last. And that's a wonderful attribute to have, right? As a caregiver and everything. But in life, even on an airplane, you put your oxygen mask on first, right? There's nothing wrong with that. You have to be strong to carry. So one of the things I think that I work at, and I've gotten better at it, trust me, but I'm always the last one I can see at the meeting. I'm the last one to say, I'll wait, I'll take my time. And sometimes I've missed that opportunity. And many times I'll hold back and for fear of embarrassment, right? What would you do if you weren't afraid? Or maybe that sounds, I don't know, funny or whatever, so you don't say it. And then somebody says it, and I'm like, that's exactly what I was going to say. Why didn't I speak up first? I would have sounded like a genius, So I struggle always with that. And so especially in this time, I think it's important to take care of yourself and to make sure you advocate for yourself in the right way.
Yeah, and great question. I was just sitting here thinking, I would say the biggest thing that I've always struggled with career-wise, and definitely now as a business owner and, you know, trying to figure out how to be an entrepreneur, is just asking for help. So trying to carry the entire team on my shoulders, and, you know, that was my corporate life. And then when I started my own business, and, you know, I'm trying to do my own marketing and advertising and sales calls and doing the projects. And I'm just now getting to a point where I say, you know, yeah, I'm really not that creative. I'm not Lenny. You know, let me find somebody, a freelancer that could take this part of my project or my business, and just bits and pieces, but asking for help with a lot of the teams that I coach around process improvement work nowadays. I see directors and managers and leaders out there trying to do everything. And one of the first pieces of advice that I give to them is delegate or ask for help, so you can focus on the scope of that role as a healthcare leader. So that's something that I now point out with a lot of the different teams that I coach around. But that's something I know is still something I'm working on, you know, being a man, being, you know, a Black man. I want the responsibility. That's my job. And I'm learning that asking for help is actually very okay. So.
Thank you for that. A question, there's actually 3 more questions in the chat. Question here is, how do you negotiate your salary when employers try to lowball you? Or maybe seemingly lowball you? Throw that out there.
Yeah, so I'll jump on that first. When I was pursuing jobs, I always had a number in mind. And so, you know, whatever my current salary was, whatever position I was interviewing for the next level up, I always had a number in mind. Do your research, you know, don't just come up with a magical number, but make it as best as possible, a fact-based number, salary.com, payscale.com. Jump on LinkedIn and find people doing that job and ask them for their salary ranges. Like, you can get very, you can qualify your number, but I always had a number in mind, and you got to ask for it. You got to put it out there when it's time to have that discussion, put it out there, and don't be afraid to negotiate other things than salary. I've sometimes taken lower salary numbers for other benefits. Higher levels of PTO on the front end. I negotiated with one group that they would pay for very specific professional certifications. So for anybody wanting Lean Six Sigma certifications, negotiate that up front, because that could be a couple $1,000 on the front end. So you can negotiate other things than just salary, but for salary specific, have a number in mind, stick to it.
I guess on my end, where it comes into play is a lot of times on the job offer, right? So I'm on the other side. Jarvis did his homework and he's going to hit me up with the numbers that he wants. And I know I have to keep within this budget. So understand that not everything is negotiable, but there's a lot that is negotiable, right? So some jobs are by scale. So that means there's a range, and based on what you're applying for, you're in that range. And the thing that they watch out most for is internal equity. So if we're working side by side, we've got to be mindful to keep salaries fair, right? So remember, the organization is trying to keep all that contained. Then you're this great person coming on and you have a magic number in mind. Got to make sure your magic number is accurate. So I talk to people that are $20,000 and $30,000 beyond what we're paying, and that's okay. But they got to the wrong job. Most of the time, they got to the wrong job because what do you think would be the reason? I'll give you one clue. It starts with a T. Title. They're shopping for a title. They're not shopping for the job. So I've had people say, well, I'm a coordinator, I want to get to manager. Well, you can be a 6-figure paid coordinator, or you can be a $40,000 paid coordinator. Just because it says coordinator doesn't mean it's this much or that much. So you have to sort of know the industry. So what I always do, and I do it early on in the first interview, not the lead question, usually the last question. when we go over the compensation package, which Jarvis was referring to, it's not just the salary, it's the cost of the benefits, it's the cost of the PTO, it's the cost of tuition reimbursement, all that together makes a compensation package, right? So our compensation package is the salary plus the bennies and all, which is close to 30% of the total comp. So if you're being paid $100,000, your total comp's worth about $130,000. See, so that's what you're going into. So I had a girl today who was $3,000 off what she wanted. But when I told her when she starts in January, she's getting her benefits day one, she went, oh my God, that's a blessing. I'll take it. See what I mean? That's what Jarvis was referring to. Most people are sort of negotiable. So I always say at the end, don't tell me what you're making. And in New York State, they're not allowed to ask you. So they can't say, tell me what you're making now. No. Then you don't tell them. But I say, don't tell me what you're making, because to be honest, I don't care. I only care what you want to make. Okay, I really only care what you want to make. And if you're making $45,000 and this is a $90,000 job and you're going to get $50,000 up, good for you. I'm not going to hold you back because you were a $40,000 earner. The job has a price. You go to a car dealership, a car has a price. A sofa has a price. You buy makeup, everything has a price. Well, jobs have a price, but where they come in, the organization knows best, and the manager also knows their budget. So you have to deal within the budget. That's the reality. So if you're looking for the higher end, maybe you look at, oh, there's a reputation out there for a higher end organization. But people think, oh, this is HSS, you know, the road's paved in gold here. No, we have to pay bills and put the lights on like everybody else, right? But certainly be open. And that's what we said, be open to negotiating. And then I think you'll find I'm here, as I said, 20 years, I could count on half a hand what I lost due to salary. Trust me.
I have a piggyback question to that. What about when it's internal and they already know what you make?
Well, that we're allowed to know because you're our employee. So that we have to know. But as an external employee, we're not going to ask that. But yeah, I'm going to look here and know what you make. But again, knowing what you make is a good thing, because I have people coming for jobs that they don't even know what they make. They think they know what they make. Okay, they forgot about the overtime they accrued last year. They forgot about the add-ons. So sometimes they're looking for a job that's below what they make. The other thing is the exemption status. Everybody knows you're either an hourly or a salaried person, right? Some jobs, you're in an hourly job. Now you have your first launch at an exempt job, a salary job. And the pay is a little more. So I tell you, oh, your salary is going to go up. You're going to be salaried. You're going to get an extra week's vacation. Now you come back to me and you say, wait a minute, you know how much overtime I made last year? So even though I'm getting paid more per hour with this job, there's no OT. So you know what? I don't want it, Joanne. Thanks anyway. I'm going to stick with what I have because I'm making more money. I've had overtime for 4 years straight. See, it depends what's driving you. And it's okay if you're driven by salary. We have to eat. Everybody has a different story. Some people are keeping 2 families going. Some people are paying for their elderly mother's elder care. Plus, everybody's got a different story. It's not a bad thing to be driven by money. Everybody has needs. But internally, they have to know what you make, but they shouldn't be holding you back from a promotion because of what you make. No. I mean, and the best example I can give you is I have somebody, say, working as, I'm going to say a nurse aide. They're working as a nurse aide. They've been in nursing program for 4 or 5 years. They're finally done. They're ready for their first nurse job. That's a tremendous difference in salary, isn't it? From a nurse aide to an RN. We don't say, oh, we're only going to give you $20,000. You can't get $30,000. The job is the job. You're going to get paid what the job is. Right? Okay.
We have 2 more questions in the chat, and then we're going to transition to our awards presentation. First question is, how do you practice self-care?
Well, I'll jump on that really quickly. For me personally, I have a routine. So it's something that was sparked from a great book called Miracle Mornings. where basically I just try to start my day in a very similar way every single day. So I get up at about 4:35 and I go and stretch, and I just have a little bit of me time, you know, before the wife and the kids get up and run havoc in my household, since we're all socially distancing together. I try to get, you know, by 5 o'clock, I'm out running in my neighborhood, just going for about a 3 or 4 mile jog. Then I come back, and it's just a routine, and that works for me. But that quiet time, just starting the morning in a similar way, just kind of gets my day going. So that's my own personal habit.
Yeah, for me, I've found nature similar to Jarvis. I'm up really early. I try to enjoy watching the sunrise, get outside regardless of the 4 seasons, and appreciate that. That's been, you know, life altering. My yoga is my art, so I have that output as well to help me, you know, get that channel out there.
I can't say I'm as ambitious. I wish I was. I'm very ambitious, but not in that way. But I do a lot of things because that make me quiet. You know, I make a living by talking all day and talking to people all day and phone calls all day. So things for me are a little bit more quiet. You know, I am very much into poetry and prayer and, you know, walking and things of that nature that kind of reconnect me to me. I have to say, added on when you asked earlier about what are one of, you know, the mistakes that you keep making and things, probably not doing enough self-care. I sort of let work consume me from time to time, just hardwired that way, and I do love it, but it can get too much. So I think sometimes I need to take the time to like not lose myself. And I will say once in a while, I have lots of friends and sisters. I have a big family. And I'll say like, what do I like? I don't even know what I like anymore, you know, and they help ground me. Let's say if you have family, they'll get you right back to ground zero, right? Trust me, they don't let you go too far on the leash there. They'll bring you right back. And so if you do have family and loved ones, let them, because they really, really care about you more than you realize. And they'll reel you back in when they see you getting away from things. Listen to them. They really, really have your best interests at heart.
Okay, so our final question is, due to the current demands, strains on the health sector, what qualities do you think future leaders may need to be successful?
Do you want me to start? Since some of the things on my very slide, I talk about agility, EQ, intelligence, and authenticity, as well as some of the hard skills, right? Your hard skills are your technology and stuff like that, but the soft skills have become increasingly more important. Once everybody knows technology, it's what you do with it. And you're not working with widgets, you're working with people. And that's what it's all about. So I think for me, those would be the skills we continue to look for.
Yeah, I would add that I think over the next year, just, you know, we've got to watch and learn going into especially Q2, Q3, as things settle down and we look at how healthcare and the provider environment and everything for that matter reinvest. I think everyone's still settling the dust and trying to figure things out. They're cautious. There's a lot of concern, you know, around losses, budget, staff, etc., as well as impact on the bottom line. But I do think that going into the new year, there'll be new categories and new verticals and new opportunities. So being, you know, resilient and adaptive and open to seeing what's coming is probably, you know, or at least what I advise myself and others to be doing right now.
Yeah, for my feedback, I think it would connect with everything I shared in my presentation, which I won't call it Lean Six Sigma. It's really not about Lean or Six Sigma, and that it's problem solving. And I think that connects the dots to a lot of, you know, it could probably do more for soft skills, but this is definitely around for groups who are trying to transform. And that's what the industry is doing right now, is transforming. That's what problem solving skills are going to help you do. Identify the situations, Appreciate collecting data, looking at processes, understanding all your stakeholders, the key players, and what they need to happen so they can feel equally successful. Problem solving skills, but Lean Six Sigma is, one way to wrap that up, but there's other things, project management skills, data analysis skills, and definitely don't want to take away just from pure leadership skills. This is, I think, a great opportunity to just be people, be humans again, and to treat people like people, because everybody's going through a lot of stress, a lot of change management skills. So those are things from my view of the world that I think can help everyone be successful on top of the softer skills. But definitely this is a time of change and transformation. So the more you guys can build around that, I think it'll just take you one step further for your personal success, but then for the success of your organizations, for your communities, and so forth.
Great. Thank you so much for that, the presentation, and also the answers to some of the questions that came through the chat. Given the time, almost 7:45 here, we're going to transition to our presentation for the Young and Senior Awards. And then just to level set in terms of the next few minutes, I want to actually, after the presentation, show a quick video from Fabian Stone, a holiday message, and then Jay will close us out for the program. So just wanted to let people know what the next few minutes will look like. So please hang in with us. All right. So Ramandi, Steve, Raven. Oh, Ramandi, I think we lost your audio again.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
This is where teamwork makes the dream work. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is well. It's with pleasure to announce or to award this year's Young Healthcare Executive Recipients Award. This year's recipient received her MPA in Health Administration and advanced certification, and also holds an advanced certification in gerontology from Long Island University. She received her bachelor's degree in women's studies from Stony Brook University. Her early roles in healthcare have included working as a senior medical secretary at Cornell. She later transitioned to her role as an administrative specialist, where she provided a wide range of administrative support to senior staff within the department, as well as supported the Center for Preoperative Services, or rather the Center for Preoperative Outcomes, CPO, leadership with the management of special projects. She later transitioned to Northwell Health and subsequently has held 2 positions, first as a practice office coordinator and currently serves as an administrative supervisor, where she supervises and coordinates non-clinical staff, administratively supports clinical staff, and directs the daily operations of 2 multi-specialty practices, which includes the pediatric service lines. Her administrative responsibilities include business operations, financial management, human resource management, information management, patient care systems, quality management, and risk management. This young professional is a wonderful example of a young healthcare executive. She is a go-getter, she asks questions, and is passionate about the New York Regional Chapter of NAHSE. She plays an active role in engaging students and other young health executives in professional development and networking opportunities. Professionally, she has aligned herself in positions where she has had opportunities to grow and learn, including participating in Northwell's Health Emerging Leaders Mentoring Program. She serves as a resource to the up and coming healthcare leaders and engages other early careerists and students. She serves as she serves on the membership committee and was a part of the Young Empowerment Forum Planning Committee. In addition, she serves as a leader in the New York Regional NAHSE Executive Committee in her role as secretary. I would like for everyone to please join me in honoring Christine Pritchard as our 2020 New York Regional Young Healthcare Executive.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Christine. You're welcome.
And you can also do in the reactions, a clap.
Yes. Congrats.
Yay!
Welcome to the club.
Congratulations, Christine.
Yes. Welcome. Congrats. This is an opportunity for you to say something, Christine, if you'd like.
I don't have anything prepared, but I thank you all so much. Thank you to NAHSE. You guys know how much I do love this organization, and it has contributed so much to my growth as a healthcare leader. And thank you. I'm looking forward to working further with the chapter and continuing to help with this growth. Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
Can everybody hear me? I know I'm on here twice, but
Yes, we hear you, baby.
okay.
That's fine.
So it's with great honor from me to present this year's Senior Healthcare Executive Award. This year's recipient serves as the Senior Vice President and Regional Chief Operating Officer at New York Presbyterian Hospital. She actualizes the strategic vision of inpatient and outpatient services provided in Brooklyn, Queens, and Westchester County. She also leads NYP Medical Group, which includes employed and faculty physicians from Weill Cornell and Columbia University. Prior to her appointment at NYP, she held roles such as Chief Executive Officer from University of Virginia Medical Center in Charlottesville, Virginia, and Acting Executive Vice President for Health Affairs for UVA Health. She's held several leadership positions at Duke University Hospital in Durham, North Carolina. This healthcare executive also has held positions in the pharmaceutical and insurance industries. She's received her undergraduate degree in political science and African American studies from Washington University in St. Louis. She later graduated from Yale University with a Master's of Public Health degree, completing her thesis with distinction. Additionally, she received several accolades, to name a few: Modern Healthcare's Top 25 Women Leaders in Healthcare in 2019, Modern Healthcare's Top 25 Minority Healthcare Executives in Healthcare in 2018, and Becker's Hospital Review Top 50 African Americans in Healthcare in 2019 and 2018. At the chapter level, she's participated in New York regional meetings. She served as a mentor to many young healthcare professionals and up-and-comers in NAHSE like myself, and continues to support New York regional future leaders. She's a frequent speaker at national, regional, and local conferences on a range of topics, including race in America and healthcare, future of digital health. Prior to her involvement in the New York regional chapter, her NAHSE involvement included as the founding president and immediate past president of the North Carolina chapter, a co-chair of the National Membership Committee, National Executive Committee, member at large, and a judge for the Everett Fox case competition. She's been a true leader for NYP throughout the coronavirus pandemic, the New York City shutdown, and organizational unprecedented budget constraints. Most recently, she was appointed to the J2 Global Board of Directors, a leading internet information and services company. So please join us in honoring Pamela Sutton Wallace with the 2020 New York Regional Senior Healthcare Executive Award.
Love it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, how awesome is this? I am like in total shock. Thank you all so much. You have no idea how much it means to be recognized by NAHSE and by the New York chapter in particular. It's just overwhelming. And the speakers tonight were really just inspirational and reminded me why we do the work that we do and how we are all must be prepared for continuous learning, right? Like, so you never stop learning, and I'm glad to be here. I love mentoring people, but I also love to be mentored. And people, colleagues at NAHSE provided that space for me. And to those of you who haven't been in NAHSE long, hang tight. It's the place where that family, where you can take off the mask, where you can ask those hard questions. You can ask those stupid questions. I've done it for the last 30 years, and I wouldn't be able to survive these types of jobs without that support. So thank you. I am just incredibly humbled and honored. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Congrats.
Congratulations, Pamela.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you.
I'm humbled to be in your presence. Thank you. Believe me.
Yeah. It's terrific.
Both of you. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So before we close out, I wanted to actually share a holiday video from Fabian, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jay to close us out for the evening.
Holidays, holidays, holidays. Who doesn't look forward to celebrating, reflecting, and appreciating?
You have to share your screen, Conrad.
Holidays give us a
One
break from
second.
our routine.
Oops, I thought I was sharing it. One second. One second.
Holidays, holidays, holidays. Who doesn't look forward to celebrating, reflecting, and appreciating? Holidays give us a break from our routine and help us refresh ourselves.
It's in the file explorer, not the video.
As sleep is required for our body, similarly, holidays are important for relaxation and change. They provide relief from our daily routines. They are essential for our mental and emotional well-being.
Oops, sorry about that. That doesn't seem to be sharing correctly. What I can do is email it out to the participants so that you all will make sure to email it out to you, if that's okay. Since I'm having issues with the screen share, apologies for that. So Jay?
Okay. Well, that was wonderful. And
Thinking on
just
our feet.
time. Yeah, we got 3 minutes, so I'm gonna make it count. Okay. I want to say thank again to our phenomenal presenters, Jarvis, Joanne, and Lenny. The information you provided was amazing, incredibly valuable, and I found some great tips on the things you presented as well. Thank you so much. A warm thank you from the board, and as well as our members and the guests that are attending tonight. And then also congratulations to our senior exec, Pamela, and our young exec, Christine. 2 awesome, well-deserved congrats. Thank you. I'm sure so many wonderful things to come now that we're coming to the end of this 2020, which has been horrendous. So I'm feeling good now that we had some great news to end with for tonight. I would like to also make you guys aware of, we have a couple of events coming up. The annual business meeting is really for our members, and it really is to give our members updates on the financial health and FACHE advancements, and also the June 2021 elections. We're going to be talking more about the roles that are going to be up for election 2021. And then February, we actually have, for the Black History Month, we will be doing a tri-state social networking event with a little twist. We'll be playing Family Feud with our neighboring chapters. So that's going to be fun. I won't be the MC for the night. I know, that energy isn't going to be there, but it will be a lot of great energy there. The Tri-Cities states that we'll be partnered with, the chapters will be actually competing with, New Jersey and Connecticut and New York, of course. Save the date, that information will be coming soon, but you know what? Go to our website, check us out, NYRregionalNAHSE.org. And then that is it. Again, thank you everyone so much for attending. Your presence is always appreciated and welcome. If you have any information or any questions or concerns, you can always hit us up on the NAHSE website through our email address there. That's on the website as well, NYRregionalNAHSE.org. Again, thank you everyone for attending. Check us out on those coming events and have a wonderful, happy holiday. Thank you again, Carla Marie, and everyone else for attending. Have a wonderful night, everyone, and God bless. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, Carl Marie.
Thank you.
And Rob.
Fabulous presenting.
Great Christmas.
you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Wonderful year,
Happy
guys.
holidays.
Be safe.
Be safe.
Yes,
safe.
stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Black girl magic. Yes.
Good to see you, Jarvis.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rob.
Jarvis, I'm going to call you.
Absolutely.
You gotta take a
I
picture.
want you all to apply to HSS.
I'm in HR. I'll keep you in mind, Joanne.
Yes, yes.
HR manager.
We're on our way. We're on our way.
Wonderful job, guys. Thanks. Have a great night. And congrats again, Christine. Have a great night, everyone.
Congratulations. Good night.
Jarvis, we'll connect.
Bye-bye.
Forward to it.